Have you ever wondered what Foxglove would look like as a poison-type, plant-type Pokemon? No? Well, me neither. But today I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. But first, make sure to like and subscribe. It would really help my channel out. Okay, so I didn't exactly have any, settled idea, and I started out with something completely different. But here's me, sketching it out and grabbing references. But I figured for this Pokemon it would make sense if it were a fox, considering that fox is in the name of Foxglove. And I wanted to give it a big burly appearance, so I drew its upper half was thicker and more muscular looking, as if its chest were pumped up. But the bottom half were skinnier. I don't really have a particular reason for that other than a more unique silhouette or a more unique look. And I thought it would look interesting and contrast its upper half. But originally I did want to pick something that had thorns, because I thought that'd be more interesting in comparison to the rest of the Pokemon that are plant type, poison type, which are mostly flowers. But I ended up scrapping that idea for the sake of sticking to Pokemon's running theme of plant type, poison type, flowers. And I'm sure you can see here I was definitely struggling drawing its limbs, since I haven't drawn a animal in a long time. It's been a while. So I did my best here, and you can see I used Liquify to fix it up a little bit. But I also decided that I wanted to make this Pokemon slightly taller, and that's why I decided to also make it bigger and burlier, because Foxglove is known to grow anywhere from 2 to 7 feet tall. Although I don't want this Pokemon to be that tall, maybe an in-between, maybe 4 or 5 feet tall, depending on certain factors. Don't know what those would be yet, but maybe what they grew up with, how they grew up, etc. Although I'm sure some of them can certainly get that big if their living conditions are good enough, but maximum 7 feet. Although the chances of them getting that tall are not very large. Also, despite giving them a larger, more intimidating appearance, I didn't want them to be unapproachable. So I definitely gave them some rounder features, their paws, you can see, are rounder. They don't have claws or anything like that, so they don't look incredibly dangerous, but they still do look intimidating. Also, in this section, you can see that I'm adding individual flowers, but I later changed this to make it look more unique and just easier to replicate as a design, so it's not as difficult. And you'll see how I do it later. I'll make it one big flower instead. It'll look like one big flower, so it's an easier design to replicate, animate, whatever. Not that I didn't do any of that, because I'm too lazy to animate, honestly. And in general, if I did keep the individual flowers, it'd just be a little overcrowded and messy looking. But it also just didn't look the way I wanted it to. It looked more like a Hawaiian necklace. Don't remember what those are called. I think it's called a lei. I think that's what they call it. A lei. I'll put that on screen, if I look it up. But anyway, if you want to, just skip this part, because there's going to be no talking for this section where I'm adding all these flowers and then getting rid of them. I decided to redraw the tail because I didn't like the way it looked, and again, it was too complicated. It just didn't match the foxglove. It didn't represent it silhouette-wise. So I changed it to look exactly like the flower, just extra large. And now here, we're finally getting to the line art. So yeah, just line art section, I guess. I don't really need to explain anything. This is all self-explanatory. You might want to skip this part too. I don't know. Okay, so I got to the second paw and I decided that I'd remove it because it just didn't look right. I couldn't figure out the anatomy and I'm like too lazy to actually do that. So I just completely removed that from the design and made a couple touch-ups along the way. And that was pretty much it for line art. There's gonna be a bit of, I'm still doing the line art, but that was pretty much it. Just outlining everything and adding final details. Okay, so finally we get to the coloring, and as you can see, I color picked from the actual flower itself, and I'm coloring it in. But from then on, I just use my palette and change it myself instead of color picking. Well, I do a little bit of color picking, but it's so I can completely match it and make it accurate and not to veer off too far from the original colors of the plant. And I saw on some of the flowers there were like these white edges, so I decided to add that to the design because I liked the way it looked. And I know it wasn't on every flower, but I thought it was pretty and I decided to add it. It looked nice. And it helped add more variation to the colors, so it wasn't just solid purple all over. And I tried to do something with the spots on the inside of the flower and make it look like the where the whiskers go on the muzzle, but I ended up not doing that because it was just over complicated and didn't look right. And while coloring the body, I didn't want it to be solid green. I wanted the limbs to fade into a lighter green and then transform into purple. So here's me just adding that so it doesn't look so bland. And I also decided to add that same detail on the chest here in a minute. You'll see that, and I thought it looked nice, like the underbelly detail. Although I didn't add it on the stomach area, because it's mostly just the front of the chest where it's at, and it thins out when it goes lower. You can also see with the paws, or the legs, whatever you want to call them, I kind of made it look like leg warmers earlier, like with the sketch. I thought that kind of matched the thicker design aspect. I didn't want its limbs to be super, thin or anything like that. So, kind of 80s-esque or something like that. And here I was just adding a darker detail at the top of the tail, so it kind of looks like the tip of the flower, where it's darker. I don't know what it's called, but if you know, you know. Here you can also see that I'm adding some lines to represent texture. That's kind of just how I do it. That's how I've always done it. And I think it looks nice. So, yeah. And I didn't feel there was enough variation in the color of the body, so I added darker patches so it looked more interesting and appealing to the eye. I also decided to make the paws white because I thought that looked cool and would separate it from the top half of the legs, as well as adding highlights and some sparkles around the body because I just wanted to pop a little more and look a little more interesting. Here I like duplicated the sparkles for like a holographic effect, I guess. I don't know, I just thought it looked neat. Don't know how to describe it, but I thought it was an interesting detail to add. And then around the lighter parts of the body, I added like some colored line art so it would like stick out a little more and just look more pleasant. So that's just what I'm doing here. And here is the final design, as well as the shiny form and some of the details about it. Let me know what you think about it in the comments.